Welcome to the Grievolution, where we explore new ways to understand and to move forward with our grief. Now today we're going to be talking about something that many of us struggle with, and this is anger while we're grieving. If you've felt anger after loss, you are not alone. And here's the good news: anger no longer needs to be something to fear. If we can allow it, anger can actually fuel our transformation. So let's explore how. Anger is a natural part of grief. Research shows that anger and grief is a sign of deep attachment and love. It arises when we feel powerless, angry at the world, angry at our gods, angry at ourselves, even angry at the person who has died. But too often we suppress it and let it control us rather than finding a way to use it as a tool towards our healing. So why are so many of us uncomfortable with anger? Well, society tells us that anger is bad, it's evil. Many of us were raised to believe that anger is destructive or shameful, especially when we're grieving, it's inappropriate. These are sweeping generalizations that I'm about to make, but often women are expected to suppress anger, to remain composed and nurturing and quiet. And men, on the other hand, may only have the role model of expressing anger through aggression or dominance. These roles create a painful paradox. We don't know how to process anger in a way that can actually aid us. It's a legitimate emotion. It's there for a reason. So please leave all of us a comment below if you have experienced anger while you are grieving. What was your experience of anger? What helped? What worked? Many people fear being overwhelmed by anger, or they avoid it because they worry that once they start, they won't be able to stop. But can you imagine, what if we saw anger differently? What if we saw anger instead of something to be ashamed of or afraid of? What if we viewed anger as energy? Studies in psychology suggest that anger, when harnessed correctly, positively, welcomed, can increase our motivation, fuel action, and even deepen our sense of meaning after loss, which is so important to find meaning after loss. Anger can remind us that something matters deeply to us, that what has happened to us is important enough. And when we listen to anger, it can guide us towards change. So how can we use anger as a tool rather than as a trap? Well, here are 3 ways to consider transforming anger. Experiment with your anger into a more of a healing energy. Number 1, please acknowledge it without judgment. First, acknowledge your anger. Give yourself permission to feel it without labeling it as wrong or bad or ungrateful. Grief is already painful enough, and judging yourself is only going to add to the weight of that grief. Say to yourself, I have real reasons to be angry. Make it legitimate. Recognize, acknowledge that it's there. Second, find a healthy release. Anger is energy, and it needs movement and release. Try journaling, hitting a punching bag, running. A woman spoke to me the other day about screaming into her pillow. It's all about expressing and not suppressing. Though I try to live peace, love, and grooviness, there are times that I experience anger of my own and anger for the people that I speak to whose grief is so unjust. At those times, personally, I put in my earphones and I play some really loud, angry music, and I shake it all out, I move it all out. And it provides a release that it's no longer the energy that's in my body. And number 3, the final one, let anger show you what you care about. It can be a messenger. Let anger be your guide. Ask yourself, what is my anger trying to protect? What does it say about what I value? Sometimes anger reveals an unmet need of justice or connection or purpose. And when we recognize what it symbolizes, we can take action then that aligns with our deepest values. Try not to resist the anger. Try to look beyond it. I call this looking for the gift in the garbage. Grief in all its forms and expressions can hold nuggets of wisdom. Don't waste a strong crisis. Grief needs a revolution, and here at the Grievolution, I encourage embracing the full spectrum of emotions, including anger, that grief brings. The key is to find a way to do this safely. Anger itself is not something to be feared, it's something to be felt, to be understood, and to be channeled. And when we do that, we don't just survive our grief, we can carry our grief differently. If this concept resonates with you, then I invite you to explore working with me. You can check out my website for all of your options. Together we can shift how we move through and with our grief, one feeling at a time. Thank you, and I send you kind thoughts, kind words, and a kind heart as you experiment how to move with your anger while grieving.